Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. We are moving away from the arts, Dorothy. We've spent a couple of shows talking about the upcoming productions in Moore County.
It's been a busy art season around here.
Yeah, I mean, and Then There Were None is currently playing at the Owens Auditorium at the Sandhills Community College.
Yeah, that was fun last week.
Allison Arngrim was, she was pretty shy, wasn't she?
Just a little.
She has to, feel her strength and just get out there and project a little.
I see you could really trying to pull the conversation out of her.
Yeah, it was really hard. I think it was the most articulate group we've ever had in 8.5 years, until today.
Yeah.
We're shifting gears a little bit. We have 2 gentlemen with us. This past week, the weather has been, 40s in the morning, low 70s during the day. Pollen is on our cars.
Typical Southern Pines weather.
Yeah, early spring.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to get outdoors more. And spring cleaning becomes something on everyone's mind.
Yeah, it's because we want to get the yellow off.
Yeah. We're going to be speaking the first half of the show this morning with Lewis Bennett from Green Dreams Landscape, who is a Moore County native. And Lewis, I'm very familiar with your business, either through social media or word of mouth from lots of people that I know. Back in 2012, 2013, Green Dreams Landscape won an award through the Chamber, I believe.
Yes, sir. We won Small Business of the Year for Moore County. We were very proud of that award.
How long have you been in business?
We've been doing this. I've started in 2005, and Dana came on board shortly thereafter as my partner, and We've been steady at it.
Well, I see you guys post all over Facebook. You've got a real good, good name recognition out there. You also your company was. Got an award from, was it Total Landscape Care magazine? Yeah,
we were one of the top 12 landscapers in America in 2014 that they recognized with that award, and it was great. We went on a cruise with all the other winners and had a great time. It was really fun, and it was great to meet other landscapers from around the country that were trying to do the right thing and grow their business.
So it's impressive to stand out, because in Moore County, I find there are more landscapers and more beauty salons than in any place in the whole country. I can't imagine how many places women can go to get their hair cut, or how many there are there are kids who have their own little landscape business. They create these cute cards. They're professional management companies. Runs a gambit, doesn't it?
There's definitely a lot of competition out there. We try to stand out in that we are professionally licensed, so we have a landscape contractor's license from the state, and irrigation contractor's license from the state. Oh. We're licensed to spray on landscape and ornamental plants, and so those are things that are really important for someone if you're looking to hire somebody, to make sure that they are licensed so that you have recourse if they do make a mistake, and that they also are insured.
Yeah. Isn't this a time of the year where your phone starts to ring off the hook because of the weather?
We literally have 3 people at our office that do nothing but answer the phone this time of year, because it's the time. It's now or never.
You're originally from Moore County?
I was born at Moore Memorial Hospital before it was Moore Regional Hospital.
Were you really? You went to school here?
I did. I went to Calvary Christian here in Southern Pines.
Did you really?
Yes, sir.
Right down the street from
down the street.
Our office. So you know what Moore County spring looks like probably better than anybody.
Yellow snow.
Yeah. Do you remember, 2 weeks ago we had that little dusting of snow mixing with the pollen? Have you ever seen that before, timing?
It happens every once in a while. Usually when we have a really light winter like we've had this year, we get something towards the end of February, early March, and that's what happened. Usually it's a lot worse, though. So, I mean, it was great to be putting out ice melt in 70-degree weather. It snows the next day, and by that afternoon, it was completely gone. So, I mean, it was a nice little treat.
Were you? It's been a dry winter.
It has.
By almost all accounts.
It has.
What kind of problems is that going to cause for people who are waking up now and it's spring and they want to start their yard, their garden? There's so many misconceptions about the time of the year to do certain things.
It really, I mean, I'm a guy who likes to jump on stuff, so my garden's already planted, and everybody's going, well, if it freezes, it freezes. If it freezes and dies, I'll replant it. If it doesn't, I'm 3 weeks ahead of everybody else. That's the way I look at it. So, I mean, there are right times and wrong times to do things, but it's not a major concern. You know, if you take the time to plant it correctly, keep it watered and fertilized like it needs to be, you'll see results.
Yeah. Did the 2 or 3 day freeze we had about a week or so ago, did that harm a lot of plants that were starting to bud?
We saw some burning on azaleas, but it wasn't as bad. I think really it got so cold and they got covered in ice, which actually, you know, you hear people going out and they're breaking the ice off their plants. That ice actually forms a coat over the plant that keeps it 32 degrees, and if the wind outside is 15 degrees, that plant is actually warmer with the ice on it than without. So I think the snow that we had during that period really helped to protect stuff. We have seen some damage, but it hasn't been as bad as what I thought it was going to be.
I saw all these Facebook warnings from people, you know, well-doers. Don't forget to put quilts on your plants and blankets. Do people really do that?
We see it all the time.
Do they really?
Yes.
Nature is supposed to just survive on its own without our interference, right?
I mean, will it help you have more blooms? Yeah, it probably would. I mean, it all depends on how much effort you want to put into your landscaping. And so if you want to spend 2 hours putting quilts on your plants and taking them off the next day, then that's your prerogative. You know, I myself, I didn't do anything. We put it out there, and if it makes it, it makes it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm the cobbler, you know, so my shoes are always ratty, I guess is the way to look at it. But a plant's easily replaced. I mean, unless it's your grandmother's roses that you value.
Right.
Let the weather do its thing, and we'll deal with it.
How did you get into the landscape business?
Well, to be honest, my brother has a degree from Sandhills in horticulture, and he and I started out just working on the side and making a little extra money, and we started doing pretty well, but he did not want to own his own business and didn't want the headache of it, and so I took it over and just grew it from there.
Did you start while you were in school?
No, we actually started, I was probably 18, 19 years old, and he was just starting at Sandhills. He's a couple years younger than me, and so we went, the whole time he was at Sandhills, we did yards on the side, and it just kind of grew into what it is today.
So there's so many aspects to the type of the business that you do, because it sounds like it's one-stop shopping for a whole host of services, not just cutting grass, not just trimming bushes. You mentioned irrigation, spraying. Not everybody is licensed to do that.
No, definitely not. It's the irrigation contractor's license specifically is probably one of the hardest licenses to get in the state of North Carolina.
Is that right?
It is. When I took the test, the lady who was giving it told me that 1 in 6 people pass it on the first go-round. And there was a guy sitting next to me who had been doing irrigation for 27 years that had taken it 4 times.
So one of the things you actually put the irrigation systems in.
We installed them, yes, sir, all the way.
So from wearing my real estate hat, do you ever wind up, when we put a house under contract, do you ever wind up going out and doing an irrigation inspection for the buyer?
We have done irrigation inspections before. There's kind of 2 types of inspection. One is just to make sure everything's actually working.
Right.
And then there's another one called an audit to make sure it's actually working correctly and you're getting the right amount of water for your grass, because so many people have this conception that I'm going to water my grass for 20 minutes. Well, how much is 20 minutes? Is that half an inch of water? Is that an inch of water? Is it?
And at what time of day?
And all that affects it. I mean, evaporation, evapotranspiration, all those things affect irrigation. And so, really and truly, to get a grasp on what you're doing, we put little cups all over your yard. And it's an in-depth thing, and it costs some money. But over the long run, if you're watering your grass for 20 minutes a day and you really only need to be watering it for 12,
Right.
over the life of the system, you'll save a fortune in just water, because water is becoming more and more expensive every year.
Yeah. This morning I was out at Pine Wild. There's a home where we had a home inspector going out to do the home inspection on a house that's under contract, and we have an irrigation inspection set up for Thursday. So while I was there, the irrigation system went on. Think that this entire property has pine straw, and they have a few plants scattered all throughout this large parcel. It's almost an acre lot. And I watched these heads, and they weren't rotating properly. They were dumping so much water on pine straw, missing the bushes. And I thought to myself, and I said to the home inspector, what an inefficient setup this is. It's such a waste of water. Why don't they just do a drip system?
Drip is a great way to do things, and what we run into a lot of times here is people get a misconception because they've had drip and it didn't work, or it clogged up, or things like that. But what the major thing is when you do have it installed, somebody who understands drip needs to install it, because it needs to be regulated to pressure, or you blow the emitters out and you're not getting the right amount of water again.
Yeah.
Or the sand here in the lovely sand hills clogs them up like crazy, so you have to have some type of filtration at the source to stop that from happening, or you're going to have nothing but problems out of your drip system. So we get a lot of people that go, no, I've had drip, I don't want it anymore, but it is the most effective way to water shrubs.
And it's watering underneath the surface, not on top.
Exactly where it needs to be, so it cuts out a lot of evaporation and a lot of that problem of losing water. So it's really efficient, but it has to be installed correctly, or you end up with it doesn't work.
Right. We talk to our clients all the time about good landscaping, good plant management, because if you put all of what you do together, it creates curb appeal. And the value of a home is perceived as much higher when the curb appeal is good. And that's before people ever walk into the front door.
It definitely is the very first thing that people see. And I give folks an example. We had a customer who moved back to Virginia to be with his kids. He was more of a good friend than he was a customer. And we had landscaped his yard completely when he moved in. He was on Burning Tree Road in Pinehurst. And in 2008, when everything plummeted and nobody could sell their house or anything, there were probably 30 houses for sale on Burning Tree. He put his on the market. In 2 weeks it was gone. But he has his whole yard is turf. He's got a gorgeous shrub. I mean, he probably spent $30,000 in the yard, but the people rolled up and the house was sold before they walked in the door.
I can hear a lot of people saying, whoa, 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 I'm not going to spend $30,000 on my outside to sell my house. But somebody could go in and spend a couple of $100.
Yeah, anything helps.
Right, on a maintenance program.
Anything. I mean, if you've got something that's great and you maintain it, and I mean, the reason his was $30,000 is he wanted exotic stuff that was locally sourced. So we used a lot of hybrid stuff that had to be brought in from out of state, and it ran the price up, and he knew that. But one of his son's friends had done the landscape design in Virginia, where this stuff was very popular,
and he wanted to sell his house.
It was, it was what it was. But it was a beautiful design, and it was a beautiful yard when we were finished. And so, I tried to convince him to use locally sourced azaleas and locally sourced magnolias and things like that, and he just would not have it.
Yeah.
Because he wanted it to be what his son's friend wanted it to be. And it was gorgeous when we were done. But yeah, I mean, we do stuff for, we spend $500 on somebody's one time, and it does the same thing. I mean, just a little perk in the front can change the whole aspect of the house.
He might not have gotten the money back that he spent, but the work that he did made his home obviously more compelling than everything else on the street, and that's why it sold so quickly.
They didn't get a price reduction either. It sold for full list price. So, I mean, he might have gotten it back. I don't know. I didn't get in that with him. I mean, we still went and visited him in Virginia. So, but he was happy with what he sold it for, and that was all that mattered in the end.
Yeah. So, walk me through. Your phone rings. You get a call from somebody who wants to put their home on the market for sale, and maybe their broker has spoken to them about the value of good curb appeal. So you come out, you give an estimate. Do you walk through the property with the client? Tell me how that all works.
It depends on what the client wants. Sometimes they want us just to walk around and tell them what's wrong. Sometimes they want to walk around and talk about what they think is wrong. It all depends. And honestly, how we handle it is when they call in, we'll ask kind of what they're looking for, whether it's maintenance or whether they want a reinstall of something or whether they want a completely new install of something that they don't have already. And then from there, we get it to the right person, whether it's, if it's maintenance, we send out our maintenance supervisor so he can look at it and get the best grasp on what they're looking for, because in the end, he's the guy who's going to inspect it after our guys are done, so he needs to understand what the customer's expectations are. So that's who we would send out for that. If it was something where we're installing a patio or some type of construction project, that would be my forte. And if it was like a remodel of the landscape, then Dana usually goes out.
You mentioned a patio. You do hardscape as well?
We do.
Oh, so you really are a one-shop.
I tell everybody, if it has to do with outside your house, we take care of it as long as it's not cutting down a large tree, and we leave that to Jeff Cutler and his guys.
Okay. Extension agents. I hear these radio ads all the time where they personalize these extension agents who are on call to come out in case there's a disease in the grass or certain plants are dying. Do you ever run into situations where you will call an extension agent in to look at something that might not seem typical?
Occasionally we do. We'll call up to Carthage and talk with them about it. We do something, we send out a soil sample on every customer every year to the state to have it analyzed, just to make sure there's nothing going on in the soil that we don't know about. We can adjust our chemical program to fit what's going on so that the fertilizer profile and all is correct. So we use the North Carolina Agricultural Department in that regard very heavily.
Right.
They hate to see us coming with our wheelbarrow load of soil samples every year, but it's a free service that anybody can do.
It's a great
service. You just go to the ag office in Carthage and do it, and I highly recommend it, because you may be pouring the wrong thing on your yard expecting a different result, and you need something little.
It's almost like changing a person's diet. We're either too alkaline or too acidic.
That's it.
And that's what happens with plants or some soil sometimes.
Yeah. If you've got something specific, we had hollies one time that were yellow, and we could not get them green. No matter how much iron or fertilizer or anything we tried, took a sample up there. It was $5 for a pathology sample. We sent it off, and I needed to go to the store and buy a box of boron and pour on the hollies. We did that, and 2 weeks later, they were dark green. It literally made this customer's day, because he couldn't figure out what was wrong, and we had tried everything that we knew, and in 3 weeks, we had the problem fixed by the time we got the report back.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back in the second set talking with Green Dreams Landscape Design. This is All Things Moore County.
Our house, it has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually quite loud. Our mum, she's so house proud.
Hey, welcome back. Speaking with Green Dreams Landscape and Lewis Bennett. You know your stuff. I could tell you could just sit here and pontificate and don't even need me to be here, but besides, you do hardscaping, you do irrigation, you do spraying, obviously lawn maintenance, shrub maintenance, new construction, design.
We do a lot of stuff. It's like I said, everything outside we pretty much have a finger in, with the exception of cutting large trees. That's, people ask me what we do. That's the easiest way to describe it, because the list is forever long.
One of the bugaboos that I find in my own home and with lots of people that I work with, sellers, moles.
The bane of existence in Moore County.
I think of the movie Caddyshack, and yet, how do you what do? You can't. You have to live with them. They drive you
They've,
crazy.
they've actually, in the last couple of years, changed the law in the state. So you can now target the mole as a pest. And there are products available, Tolperid being probably the most popular, that are directed towards killing a mole. Years ago, we had to kill the grubs. So you had grub treatment, trying to get rid of the moles. But the problem is, a lot of times, they're just traveling through your yard like the interstate to get where they're going.
That's
so
right.
You see a straight or basically straight tunnel, that's a travel tunnel. If you see where it looks like they've gone crazy and went around in circles, that's a feeding tunnel. So if you see a feeding tunnel, you need to treat for your grubs and insects, because moles don't actually eat grass, they eat insects. So that's where your problem is. If you see a travel tunnel and you just can't deal with it, then go to the store, buy some Tolperid. It's a little gummy worm. You stuff it in the tunnel. The mole eats it. The mole dies. No more mole.
What's it called?
Tolperid. Talparid.
That's the only way to treat them?
That's the best. If you want to get rid of them, Tolperid's it. If you want to, if you're, you don't want to kill the mole, then kill the grubs and try to get them to go to your neighbor's yard, which is what 95. You can tell when they treat the golf course for grubs, we get call after call after call after call from customers that they've got moles now, because they just chase them out. It just moves them to another area.
And you call them grubs?
Grubs, scrubworms.
Okay, gotcha. Because that's one of the bugaboos that
everybody. You hear moles, but they're really simple to deal with if you know the science behind what they're doing. You can treat for them.
Because they can ruin a lawn.
They'll definitely muck it up.
Yeah, it looks like mini craters everywhere. So what you have to look for is the circle.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about.
You want to know if they're feeding in your yard or if they're just traveling through, and then there's two ways to deal with it.
And they're there because they're looking for insects.
Yep. So you've got, most likely 90% of the time, it's grubs. If you cut up a section of turf, flip it over, you'll see grub worms in it. Especially if you've got those feeding tunnels. And you treat for the grubs, the moles will go away usually. Okay.
So with the emphasis in Moore County, with so many people who cultivate an outdoor living environment, you give me an idea of the scope of the type of outdoor living environments that you work with.
It depends on what the person wants. Really and truly, we're not a postage stamp type place. So we go in, we talk with the customer, we decide if they're looking for like a cottage garden, or if they're wanting something more modern, or if they want something that's, classic. And then we go from there with picking materials and plants and shapes. Not everybody wants a square patio in their backyard. Some people want a circle. Some people want a kidney. And so we go from there and we design what they want. And I'm a big proponent of the patio inlay and the border around it, and using 2 or 3 pavers and contrasting colors to try to, really artsy it up. And, it makes it look like you've spent a lot more money than you have, because you're still buying the same pavers. It's not costing you much more to get that artistic flair.
Talk a little bit about the difference between some of the perfectly symmetrical yards that are so manicured and so pristine, and they have 90-degree angles, versus the natural habitat that you cultivate and preserve, so that the home sits in an area, and being from Moore County, where it looks like you're walking into yesteryear.
You see a lot, and you're right, there are those two hard differences you see here.
Right.
I myself prefer natural. I think it's a lot easier to maintain.
I knew that.
I knew that. I'm not a guy who wants to spend 4 hours every weekend going through and pulling stuff out of my yard. So it stays very natural. We trim the grass. We do what we have to do. My garden, on the other hand, I have nice square little beds and nice straight little rows, and it's a completely different story. Everything. Dana gets on to me because I'm out there with a measuring tape planting my plants so that they're equally spaced. But that's my hobby type thing.
Will you do things like devise and build vegetable gardens for people?
We've done raised beds for folks out of stone. We've done them out of wood. We've done them out of Trex board if you want something more permanent. So yeah, we do that all the time.
Okay. So it really is one-stop shopping. Let's just go back to something really common and banal, just weekly maintenance. Do you charge by the hour? Do you charge by the job? How do you, if you put somebody on a every week, once a week during the season, growing season?
We come out and we talk with the customer and determine what they want. And believe it or not, most of the time people don't even need every week service here.
Okay.
Bi-weekly service is fine, unless they're just looking for that perfectly kept yard all the time.
Right.
So we'll talk with the customer, determine what they need, find out if they want us to fertilize it, spray it, whatever. We figure up how much time it's going to take us in the spring, how much time in the summer, in the winter for the different parts of their yard, and then we total that up, average it out over 12 months, and they have an equal payment every month for 12 months to take care of it.
Yeah. If people want to take a look at your website, they can probably get a lot of good information. Where would they go?
GreenDreamsLandscaping.com.
Wow, that's pretty intuitive.
It's a little long, but it works.
Well, it makes sense because that's what the name of your company is. So in 5 or 6 years, you guys have actually really become a recognizable brand name in Moore County.
We've tried, and I mean, we're at the point now where our son is starting more and more to take interest and take over, so he's running a maintenance crew right now, and he's talking about this summer maybe coming over and helping me on the install side so he can learn that a little bit, but we're actually looking to start turning the company more over to him and letting him do his thing because he's grown up with it, and he's done it for years, so he's got just as much experience as we do. You know, so it's exciting for us to see that finally coming out.
Yeah, how old is your son?
He's 24.
Really? You have a 24-year-old son? Wow, you don't look it. Your phone number if people want to call.
It's 910-944-9412.
9412.
And usually we have more than one line, so if you get a busy signal, it's just because the girls are backed up on the phone. Just keep trying to call us or leave us a message, and we'll get back to you. Or you can go to the website, greendreamslandscaping.com, and there's a form there you can fill out, and we'll call you when we get a second.
All right. Well, this is, we appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit. This is a time of the year people are going to call. You're busy, but we appreciate you taking the time to come in.
Anytime.
So it's one-stop shopping for sure.
We try to be.
Yeah. Stick around with us if you would. I mean, you probably have a unique perspective on Moore County. Unlike, I've been here since 1999. You know a lot of people like me who have come here from either the North or New England or the Midwest. And the gentleman that's joining us now is from Buffalo, New York. We have a lot of people here from upstate New York. They don't get to talk about landscaping this time of the year like we do. And I'm speaking about my guest, Anthony Karuba. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You made a real funny comment about yellow snow.
Yeah, it has a completely different meaning in Buffalo than it does here in North Carolina.
Unlike Lewis, you and I are transplants. And I got a chance to meet you about a week ago. You purchased one of the very well-known businesses in Moore County. It's been here for I don't know how long, Champion Car Wash.
That's right. It's been here 28 years, actually. 1989 is when it was built.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So when we met, you introduced yourself to me. I was in getting my car washed. It's right down the street from my office on Old US 1. Very recognizable location. But listening to you talk about how you got here and your background, nothing would tell me that the two were working together.
It's been a long, winding path to get here. So as you mentioned, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I've done a bunch of different things, and I guess, without delving too far into all the branches off the tree, the one tie to the car wash business, the automotive business, is that my family's been in the automotive business for 65 years up in the Buffalo area, and we've been in it's specifically collision shops, auto body repair.
Right.
Yeah.
But your background was with IBM.
Yeah, that's true. So. Grew up around the family business, but
and walked away.
And kind of wanted to explore a bit on my own. So went off to school. I went to school in Western PA, and
where'd you go to school?
Allegheny College.
Okay.
And then to the University of Buffalo for graduate school. Got an MBA in international finance.
Oh yeah,
And,
that sounds very consistent with owning a car wash.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So part of the MBA I did it actually in New York City, in Manhattan, and went into the city, lived there for a while, and while I was there doing that, happened to meet an IBM executive at a financial event down at the stock exchange, and struck up a conversation, and a month later I had a job offer, so went to go work for IBM for a little less than a decade.
What time period were you living in Manhattan?
It would have been 2006, 2007.
It's right in the middle of the Renaissance of New York City. It's crazy the difference between New York City today and 25 years ago, when you would walk from Herald Square to the Port Authority bus terminal. You needed a bulletproof jacket on in those days. Today, it's become the city of millionaires and brand new sparkling buildings, and what an expensive place to live.
That's the truth. It was a lot of fun living there, and I will tell you, I'm glad I did it when I was young.
Yeah.
It's hard to envision living there day to day and raising a family there.
Exactly.
Like I said, a lot of fun and a lot of things to do, but certainly chaotic and expensive.
So you spent a good number of years in that portion of your career.
Yeah, I did in that area, and I eventually moved out of the city and moved up into Fairfield County, Connecticut. Up in the Danbury area.
Also very expensive.
It was closer to IBM headquarters.
Right.
So and I could actually have a car and drive to work every day.
So you went from the corporate world to what we're going to actually talk about and pick up in the third set. We're going to talk about how you got to Moore County, why you came to Moore County, and what it is about you that likes to preserve things that are older, because that's part of what you did, I think. And I get that. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back.
Our mum, she's so house proud. Nothing ever slows her. In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our street, our house.
Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County, and we just started a conversation with Anthony Karuba, who just purchased the Champion Car Wash on Old US 1 South in Southern Pines. And I remember when I first came here, and Louis, you might get a kick out of this. I was 4 years out of college. I came down here in 1979. I counted 3 restaurants. And I remember driving on Old US 1, and honestly, there were 3 restaurants in town. And my brother and I came down to play golf, and I remember driving by where the Champion Car Wash is. Some of those structures and those buildings haven't changed. It's just everything around them has grown up so much in Moore County, right?
It's really insane the amount of things that have changed here in my lifetime. I remember going up 15501 when it was a 2-lane highway with trees on both sides, and now it's full of businesses almost to the traffic circle.
Yeah, it is crazy. I was drawn to Moore County, Anthony, by the feeling of, kind of walking into yesteryear. And I used to work in New York City. I had a showroom in the Empire State Building. Been there, done that. What was it that not only drew you to Moore County, but drew you to, I guess, stepping back into your family's business and from New York City? How'd you get here?
Yeah, so that's a good question too. Again, another long winding path, but
yeah.
The long and short of it is that I grew up playing a lot of junior golf. And
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up coming down here in the mid '90s. Nike used to sponsor the Winter Junior Tournament Series here, and they think it was called the Nike Winter National Junior Series of Golf down at Pinehurst.
Okay.
So we used to come down to Pinehurst in the winter. That's how we first came here, my parents and I.
Okay.
And from there, they they love the area, they love the charm, and the same things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So they ended up buying a part-time place, and we started to kind of gradually vacation here in the winters. So fast forward to my tenure with IBM up at headquarters up in the New York area, and they finally decided to let me off the leash. They trusted me, and they gave me the option to work remotely. So they said, as long as you have an internet connection, you can work wherever you'd like. And I had no idea where I wanted to be, but I knew I didn't want to be in New York any longer. So I just it was actually around the time of my mother's 50th birthday. I said, you know what? Let's try Pinehurst, the Pinehurst area.
So you made a lifestyle shift. Your priorities have changed.
Yeah, indeed. I love the pace of life is much slower. It's much more relaxed, enjoyable. The people are as a whole much more pleasant to be around on a day-to-day basis. And you know, my wife and I always say you'd be hard pressed to get us to move.
Louis, you must feel like you're being invaded by both of us from the Northeast with our dark features and our sharp, our chiseled noses and our high cheekbones. And look at his beard. I mean,
he's got it going.
I've got a little ways to go to catch up to Lewis, but I'm trying.
Well, I'm about due for a trim. It's getting about at the point that it needs to be brought back into shape a little bit.
But you're surrounded by people like us in Moore County today who are transplants, and we're almost in the majority.
It's kind of the opposite, though, because I don't think there's too many people left from my high school class that are still in Moore County.
Right.
So everybody that's here, I mean, my brother moved to Bryson City up in the mountains. So, I mean, everybody here leaves, and everybody there comes here. So it's kind of like we trade places.
This is radio, not TV, but Lewis's beard and your beard speak about different part of the country. Yours is more New York. It's more trim. Yours is more natural, more a ZZ Top type feel, except maybe a little shorter.
They go with Grizzly Adams. That's what everybody tells me.
Grizzly Adams, that would be another option. But so you and your wife moved here. Was it your folks who moved here or her folks?
It was, she actually had family in the area as well. I think you probably know Scott Lincecum.
Oh, sure.
Scott is married to my wife's sister.
Oh, my gosh. What a small world.
Yeah, so she had family here as well, and my parents were here part-time, so they've now moved full-time also.
What a small world.
Yeah.
So you came down here, you were still working for IBM, but working remotely.
Yes, correct, out of the house.
And this opportunity came up?
It did. When I eventually, over time, made up my mind that long-term I wanted to... corporate America wasn't where I wanted to be for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And this was an opportunity that had presented itself pretty organically.
Is that right?
Yeah, and just through general conversation, my father had actually been the initial one to strike up a conversation with the prior owner, David McDaniel, who a lot of people in town know.
Good man.
Yeah. And it just kind of took off from there. It developed over the course of 18 months until the time that we finally signed the paperwork and stepped into Dave's shoes over at the car wash.
You remember the original movie, the first of three, Back to the Future?
Yes.
Do you remember the malt shop on the town square?
I do.
Okay. So, Champion Car Wash, there's something very retro about that building and about that car wash that I almost think there should be a malt shop. Do they call it malt shops in the South? A malt shop was like an ice cream. Help me. How would I describe it?
We used to have something similar in the village, but it was the pharmacy. You'd go to the pharmacy, and they had a counter.
I remember
and they had fountain drinks, and you could get shakes. And my grandmother actually worked there. My aunt worked there at some point, and that's what. So you'd go to the pharmacy. You'd hit the counter at the pharmacy.
Yeah, but there is a retro feel to that building. Part of me doesn't want to grow up. I remember being a kid, going with my dad to get the car washed on a Saturday morning and sticking my nose up on the glass and watching the car go through. And that's the same feeling I get there. It's not, it doesn't look like a video game, a pinball game. You know, it's not futuristic. Is that something you were drawn to?
Yeah, I mean, it was very much part of the fabric of the community, and you heard people talk about it. And still to this day, customers come in and they say, "I've been coming here for 20 years. I've been coming here for 25 years."
Right.
And that in addition to the people that have been moving to the area who say, "Oh, I just found out about you," and glad you're here. So it did have its appeal. Now at the same time, there are things that we are going to do to help modernize, and we just added a TV to the waiting room about 3 weeks ago.
That's right, you did.
Which has proved to be a pretty popular addition.
That's right.
So just small things that kind of improve the customer experience and make it more comfortable.
There is something organic about owning your own business, but my guess is that your acquisition of the business is more about lifestyle than it is about finding a penthouse apartment in New York City and keeping up with the Joneses.
Absolutely, it absolutely is. It's being the controller of your own destiny, so to speak.
Right.
That there's something very different about working 12 hours in a day when it's the ultimate goal is something that you have a stake in, building your own equity, and it's your own blood, sweat, and tears going in versus working for someone else. Now that said, I never had a problem working for any of the corporations that I was with, and I enjoyed my time and met a lot of great people. But I think in the end, in my own heart of hearts, that's really what I treasured, valued, and wanted to work towards.
Yeah. No more board meetings.
No.
Maybe if just a committee meeting of 2 people, the max, and that would be it.
That's exactly right.
And that's
exactly
the way to be. I feel exactly the same way. There's something about this community that gives people a chance to want to live here, want to start over, want to redefine what they do, how they do it, how they live. And it's a slice of Americana. Even though it's growing a lot, there are still many, many pockets like that make you feel like you're back in time.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. And again, in addition to the people and the community and the history, it really makes it feel that much more like home.
Yeah. I got 2 guys here at the table who are probably most qualified to talk about soft water and hard water. We were talking about the alkaline and the acidic nature of water, and you were nodding your head like it affects the car business as well.
It does.
Car wash business.
It absolutely does. And in addition to just the regular tunnel car wash that most people think about, we have a full service detail shop on the premises.
Right.
And pH levels become especially important when you're talking about your car's finish and protecting it and cleaning it properly.
Right.
You mentioned hard water and soft water. Hard water left on the surface of a clear coat will eventually etch itself in and become semi-permanent and can only be machine polished or buffed out. Things like organic compounds, and people down here know this well, pine sap. Which falls on your car. Bugs that splatter on the front of your vehicle. All those types of things are typically very low pH, acidic, and if you leave them on your paint surface for too long, they will actually etch themselves down into the clear coat to the point where they become semi-permanent and can only be buffed out or wet sanded out, and there's a whole science around it.
Both you guys are candidates for this next topic because I have a hobby. I collect. This is true. I collect shaving soaps and stuff from all over the world. Both of you guys could use a shave, and we use the brushes the old-fashioned way. And so I read these shave blogs all the time. And why is it that soap can lather easier in soft water than hard water? Have you ever heard that, or am I taking this too far to the left here?
That's a good question. I don't know that.
Because both of you guys are candidates now. But what makes water hard? The minerals?
Yeah, it's the mineral content. That's exactly right.
Okay, because in our area, we're known to have hard water. Is that
pretty much?
And then you have water filtration systems that could be used to soften them, filters and such.
The biggest thing we see is sand in the water. No matter if you buy it from the city, get it out of a well, you can't, sand gets in everything. Anybody who's been here for a week knows the bottom of your car mat is full of sand. It goes everywhere. You can't get rid of it, and it literally is in the water. If you do not filter it out, it will clog up your faucets, on and on and on.
I can vouch for that because I think every week for the last 4 weeks I've been to the Champion Car Wash. As we are busy in our business, people are in and out of our car all the time. We have sand everywhere. And people are saying, "Oh, I'll wipe my feet, I'll wipe my feet." I said, "Don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do. You just have to come in and do a deep vacuum and go from there."
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, Champion Car Wash, you do have a separate detail bay and a detail business.
We do. It's actually a separate structure on the property, 2 bays.
Right.
And we have a full-time detailer in there, Chuck. And you know, I've been a detailer for a number of years myself.
Huh.
We're an International Detailing Association member shop. So we follow a pretty strict set of code of conduct and guidelines for integrity and honesty and things like that. So, yeah, that's a part of the business that's very near and dear to my heart that I have a particular passion for.
I can't say enough the feeling I get when I go to Champion Car Wash. It is very organic. It's one-on-one, as opposed to going to some of these car washes where you think you're in Disneyland,
Yeah.
and you've got all these mirrors and these. It's almost not personal enough.
Mm-hmm.
And a car it's a personal thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of the trend in the car wash industry over the course of years has become to turn the car wash into Space Mountain.
Yeah.
With the lights and the flashing lights and all the equipment that looks pretty. When push comes to shove, if you're using the proper materials and the proper wash components, it does the same job.
Yeah. For $12, and I know you have a whole menu of services, but you can go through your business for $12 and get an inside-outside wash. And it's such a great feeling. Why does a car always seem like it runs better when it's clean, right?
Yes. I don't know why that is, but it's true. I don't know if it's clearly just a case of mind over matter, but
you live in Pinehurst?
I do.
And you don't have children yet.
Correct.
That might be something down the road.
Yes.
So your wife came here willingly. She wanted out of Connecticut and New York City as well.
She was used to the big city life too. She did her graduate work in Boston.
Oh boy!
And then had moved to Providence, Rhode Island.
I know it well.
And made her way south from there. And
okay.
We actually met down here. Believe it or not.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we did. Believe it or not. And a lot of the people we tell are they're hard pressed to believe us because they say that if you're under the age of insert number here that you have no chance of meeting anyone. Well, I think that's very much changed in this area, and
it really has.
My wife and I are, I would say, a prime example.
For anybody who wants to check out the Champion Car Wash, I would. It's very friendly. You came up to me. I was paying for my car the other day, and you just put your hand out and introduced yourself, and it's very folksy in there. Mm-hmm. And you probably have met a lot of the people that probably Louis knows from over the years they don't like to change colors. They like things to be the same as they were.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a feel for old Southern Pines and Old Moore County, get your car taken care of at the Champion Car Wash.
Yeah. We by all means we welcome everyone, and to your point about change, you see all different shades of it. There are some people who don't even like that the TV is there now.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
One of the things, Louis, that I tell people all the time from the Northeast and from New England, from the Midwest, and Anthony, you probably will agree with me. I always tell people it's such a privilege to wake up here every morning in Moore County. You get up and it's just such a manageable, enjoyable, beautiful environment and lifestyle. And that's what you started for us, so thank you. We owe you a big round of thanks.
So you welcome everybody.
You welcome everybody, right?
Welcome everybody.
You're not inclusive. I mean, you are inclusive. You want everyone in.
You want everybody.
There you go. I've enjoyed talking to both you guys this morning.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I do need to ask you. You have a website?
It's in development.
Okay.
So that will be up and running soon.
Okay.
But if anyone needs to get a hold of us, they can call us at 910-692-5060.
Okay. If you have a website, just don't tell the local people, just the new people who have moved here, right?
That's right, exactly.
Keep everybody happy.
That's right.
Louis Bennett, Green Dreams Landscape, thanks for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
And sitting over this table like a paternal figure, watching your two new guys on the block moving into Moore County and calling it their own.
I wouldn't say you were new. You've been here almost
17 years.
You know, that's pretty good.
Well, I want to say I'm from here, but I'm not. But
And he's been coming here since
96 was the
96.
first.
So see, I mean, you're not new.
it's true. Anthony Karuba, good luck with Champion Car Wash.
Thank you very
It was
much.
a pleasure to have you as well.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Father gets up late